Okay, so this video I'm going to go into a little bit on how I made my tarmac. If you look at my 3 concourses here, they're all kind of slightly different. This concourse has the mainline jets, the narrow bodies, and a couple wide bodies. But the tarmac is specifically designed for those aircraft. So if I remove, let's say an easy one to remove would be this A321. You can see each gate is a little different as far as which aircraft it parks. I designed these running lines. Basically what I did is I got the model out, I set the model up, I compared it with other models, so I figured out where an A321 door is in relation to where the 737 door is, so that my gateway would always kind of come to the same spot, to a very similar spot. And I also kind of made it so the engines would always kind of sit over my engine warning areas. Because if you look at it, each aircraft is different. If you compare the A321 with the 757, you line them up together, you can see the engines aren't quite in the same spot. And that's even more pronounced if you compare an A319 with an A321. It's a longer nose, so if I park my 321 the same spot with my 319, my engines are going to be considerably farther back. So the way I did that is I adjusted where the nose parks. So the A321 nose gear parks on that top one. The 319 parks on the one you see right there. So there was no program I used. I looked at some pictures online for aircraft parked at terminals, and I used that as a basing point for how I designed this. But basically what I did was I just took the models I had, the Gemini 200 models, and I set them all next to each other, and I figured out where they need to be in order to have the most aircraft fit in the same gate. So all these gates on the outside are all for about 757 down to an E190. They'll fit just about any of those type of aircraft. These 2 gates over here are almost specifically designed for 757s. They're a little laid out differently. They will fit some of the other ones, but it's not going to be as accurate as these other gates are going to be for like the A319s, A320s, and the 73s. And I've got one kind of a large wide body gate. If I remove this 777 out of the way. So these engine warning areas are farther apart. It's all the same stuff. I just placed them different places. Same with the fuel ports, and same with, if you look down here, this is only for the 777, 76, and the A330. Again, it's the same files. You place them on the tarmac differently depending on which aircraft you're accommodating there. All right. And I'll go into here in a second how I did that. So the 777 goes all the way to the front. And then move this back next to the aircraft. All right. Now the unique thing about this gate as well is I have this little side run-in line. That's actually for a smaller aircraft like a Dash 8 or a commuter, if I wanted to use this gate for that. So again, I just decided that's how I wanted that gate to be. All these gates are custom made. They don't really go off a particular airport. All right. My commuters are basically the same. You can see that the aircraft set up for are a little differently. I got the ERJ, the E190, the CRJ 7-9s. But other than that, you can tell that these parking spots only are going to fit the RJs. Here's an E190. You can tell that's even almost too large for the way these lines are. The E175 and E170 fits in just fine, and all the CRJs and ERJs, but the E190 is just too large. If you get technical about it, I should have made them a little bigger for that one. All right. And how I design these things, I have a program on my Mac called Paint 2. It's very similar to Microsoft Paint if you have a Mac or if you have a PC. And it really is just about designing these files. All right, so here's my commuter gates here. See the ERJs, the CRJ, and it really is just about going on here and designing them, making straight lines, making curved lines. There is no one way I can teach you how to do it other than you've got to get in this program spend a couple hours learning how to do it, how to bending things, how to merge rectangles together. And once you get kind of proficient at it, the process really speeds up. So initially it's very slow learning how to do this. But once you start getting the feel for how lines fit together, how you can merge things, how you can shape it, how you can mirror. So you sometimes on these signs, I'll have to print half. So like I say, I'll print like this half of it, and then I'll cut it, I'll copy it, I'll flip it inverted to the other side, I'll move it together, and then I get this nice continual arc. And that's one way you can, again, it's all playing with the program to figure out how to make it work the best. Same thing applies for all my taxi lines. I mean, I'm just taking a bunch of straight lines and I'm using the bend function in order to curve, to drag different parts of the line to bend them the way I need to, depending on where I'm going to put them on the tarmac. There's no template I had that I used for this. I pretty much just went through here and I messed with these lines. I curved them, I bent them until they were until they all fit together the way I needed them to be, based on where my taxi lines were. It really is, it's all trial and error. It's just messing with the program until you get comfortable using it. All right, until you get what you want to do. Now the way I adhese these to the tarmac, so here you can see this is how I printed them out. These are the printed out sheets for my RJs. This paper is, this Avery Makes It. I think I ordered this stuff online. Sometimes Office Max, Office Depot, Staples, sometimes they'll carry it in the store, but most of the stores I went to didn't have it, so I ended up just ordering it online. This is the exact same paper, different names. This is called sticker project paper. This is just full sheet shipping labels. Say that 5 times fast. Now the only difference between these two things is the one on the left is clear, the one on the right is white paper. They both are this adhesive back paper. So if you look on the back of this paper, the back, if you bend it up, this back sheet comes off and it's adhesive. All right. So I use my regular printer. I design on the computer, and when I'm positive it's the right proportions, it's the right size, it all works together. Now I print it on my adhesive back paper. All right. Once I have it on there, I get my X-Acto knife and I cut, the most of the stuff that I cut the big sections out. All right, you don't need to cut in between it all here. You don't need to cut over in there. If you start getting too much, I found that if you cut too much out of this and all you have is the lines, it gets very fragile. It's very difficult to accurately put it on your tarmac. So I do cut out the big sections here, and if you can see, on this one right here, I'm not sure if the light will be able to show. I'll move this E190 out of the way. So this is all cut out. This is all one piece up top here. All right, and this is all cut out on the side here. And that's so when the light shines, it looks like more accurate. All right, if you leave it in one whole piece, as I did on my very first terminal, depending on how the light hits it, you can see that it's adhesed on and it doesn't look as good. That's what I'm trying to say. So it does take more work and it's kind of a compromise. So you want to cut the majority of it out, but when you start getting in these actual lines, you want to keep them together in one piece because that way it adheses to the surface easier. All right. Now I have my two different kinds here. I have my clear and my white. So if you look on my tarmac, you can tell which one was the white, the main taxiway. See how bright they are? How much they stick out more? That was printed on with the white paper, and the white paper tends to have more vibrant color. All right, the clear paper, which is actually what this is, it's clear. It's just if you take off the back, you see this is transparent, but it's a little more subdued when you put it on your tarmac. You can actually see through it a little bit, right? So when you use the white stuff, you've got to cut, no kidding, right to the edge on the white. Otherwise, you'd see the white paper. For any of the parking spaces and whatnot, you use the clear stuff. That way you can cut around, and you don't have to be very precise. I mean, you don't have to cut right to the edge, but you're not going to see it because it's transparent paper. So this isn't cut right to the edge. This is probably about that thickness going up, but you can't tell, only you can feel it. So you kind of have to do that as well. And I use the white stuff for the main ones because I want them to stand out more. I wanted the main taxi lines to stand out more than the offshoots going into the parking spots. So that's why I use the white one. But again, when you do use that white stuff, you have to cut. Here's one that I haven't put down yet. You see, you got to cut right to the edge, because otherwise you're going to see the white marking on the outside. All right. It's tough. It's a lot of work. I'd say one of the hardest parts about making this terminal was designing the tarmac. But you got to be patient. You're going to have time. It's going to take a couple days, 2 or 3 sometimes, depending on how much time you have to work on it. And you got to be patient and you got to be careful. Once you put that stuff down, it's down. I mean, it would probably, taking the stuff off now, would probably take this part with it because it is very sticky. All right, so once you have it down there, it's there. There's no really going back at this point. That's long enough, I think, for video. If you have any other questions on this stuff, you can ask me specifics, but I don't want to take too much time talking about silly stuff like make and model airports, all right? There you go.